Hey yo, and welcome back to the letter. It is late at night. I'm sleepy. I need to record. And we left off, just after the film. I forget what the film was called. Bleu Francis, I think. We're learning a lot about how jealous Rebecca is. And let's see the rest of her perspective, because she's been pretty absent this whole story, popping in once in a while. Well, unfortunately, it does nothing to improve my mood, like I am hoping. Neither does the muggy air that greets us upon stepping back into the noisy streets. Butters, why are you making noise? Always making noise. Too busy. Too loud. Too many people talking, taking what little space the sidewalk offers. It forces anyone to bump shoulders with those they barely know. They let alone care about. On a normal evening, I probably wouldn't have minded the crowd nor the humid weather. It's not like any of them are bothering anyone. And yet even with what's admittedly a pleasant company, I can't bring myself to lighten up.
So you got some other time?
Hello?
Yeah, see ya.
Not even to return the smiles Ashton and Zachary give us when we go our separate ways. Perhaps this started with Miss Cooper's call, or earlier than that, maybe even the moment I left bed this morning. Bloody hell, it could have been because of that soldering letter for all I know. I couldn't care less at this point. All I want is to get a warm bath, sleep, and wait for this dreadful day to end. Now, if only Isabella will stop babbling, then maybe this dull throbbing at the side of my head won't turn into a full-blown headache, too.
Zach did a pretty good job with his movie, didn't he? Even though Ash said he ran into some trouble late into filming.
Okay. Be more obvious.
But I knew he had it in him. It's not like I didn't believe he couldn't do it. I mean, did you see his face after the credits rolled? All those months he worked on this, and everything's finally...
You weren't even watching.
Only the first minutes. I watched the rest of it, I swear. Besides, Ashton was the one who wouldn't stop asking questions.
Well, why do we still need to talk about this then? I liked it. Ash liked it. You liked it.
Why, you're such a bitch.
Shouldn't you be telling that to Zachary in person? I'm sure he'll appreciate it better than I ever will.
I know that, but maybe there's something you want to say?
Well, there's plenty of things she wants to say, like, step off my man!
Zach had you check the scripts before he went through everything, didn't he? You also worked on it, even if it was only for a short time. So, maybe you want to...
I don't bother waiting for the rest. The moment I spot my car, I immediately make a quick beeline for it. Knowing her, this is merely another attempt at starting a conversation, just so I'll have something to fill the dead air, to replace the strained atmosphere we've somehow walked into. One thing, the very thing, I'm not too keen to deal with at present. Behind me, Isabella also changes her pace to match mine, her soft strides growing brisk and uneven in order to catch up. A small part of me half expects she'll suddenly trip. She's not the clumsy sort, but there's definitely times where she can be at least the least coordinated person on the planet.
Becca, hey! Oh no. Wait for me!
And people wonder why I worry. They're not really completely unfounded once you've already grown familiar with her habits, though right now, this is also at the very end of the list of things I want to think about. Sometimes it does become overbearing. Even her voice as she calls after me sounds nothing more than background noise to my ears now.
Rebecca, slow down, will you? Your car's not going to leave without us.
The sooner we get on the road, the earlier we can get home. It's Friday, in case you didn't notice.
I know what day it is, but the traffic's not going to magically disappear, even if we go there right now.
I don't want to hear that from you.
Ooh, are you gonna confront her about leaving and making her drive all that fucking way?
Didn't you used to complain how horrendous the traffic is back home for you?
Yeah? But that doesn't have anything to do with this, Becca.
Okay. What do you want to do then? Wait it out? Walk? I just want to go home, Isabella.
You're mean.
If you want to stay out here longer, I won't stop you. But leave me out of it. I'm not up for any other foolish excursions tonight.
I wasn't thinking about an excursion. I want to go home too. It's already late. It's just that you've been in this prickly mood since earlier.
Because you're making moves on her man.
Are you really okay? Was it the cold? Or did something happen at school?
Nah, there's a creepy child.
Do you want to talk about it?
Long pause follows, and it holds everything she's been meaning to ask from the very start. I'm in no mood, but all the same, my hand stops short of unlocking my car, and my grip on the handle tightens. I can feel her eyes boring on me, waiting, hoping patiently for any answer I give. She's the same as Zachary. They're bad liars. But when you talk to people like them, if you're not careful, they often leave you with no other choice but to admit the truth. Those exact same ones I can't voice. Despite my lack of response, she pushes on surprisingly. This time her tone is quieter, more tentative than usual.
Was it because of the letter?
It's a well-meaning question, much like the rest of this talk, yet something in how she says it irks me.
If it is, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to cause a scene. I did see something in the mansion, though. I wasn't lying about that.
Wherever she wants to take this, I no longer want to hear a word of it. Not at this minute, preferably never. Especially when there are already a million other things buzzing and prodding inside my head. You are a shit friend. Sometimes my patience can only be tried for so long. Fine, it's not that cold. You're just a bitch.
And during the open house, even if there were a lot of people around, there were weird things happening. I don't know if there was anyone else who noticed, but I heard things. I'm sure it wasn't because I fell down the stairs. Even before that, in the attic,
Will you give the sorting letter a rest already?
The effect is immediate. Abruptly, Isabella clamps her mouth shut. Hurt flickers across her face as she looks away, and her shoulders droop, all before the thought of holding back on my tone, or how she'll take every word crosses my mind. When the realization does hit after, a twinge of guilt washes over me at once. But with all that has already been said and done, what am I supposed to tell her then? That I'm someone who can be so easily unsettled by my own assumptions. That this stupid sulk has been brought upon some equally stupid jealousy. That the simple glimpse of her and my childhood friend together infuriates a part of me, or that I wish I've been in her place during those times instead. True or not, I owe her neither of those, and if anything, she's the last person I want to know about it.
Look here, I'm not in the mood for this kind of talk tonight. My head is aching and I'm tired. I don't want to hear about the dumb letter, or the mansion, or whatever it was you saw in the bloody attic. Just get in the car and we're going home.
sorry. I won't mention it again.
Rebecca is a shitty friend. She's a bitchy friend.
If you're so worried about it, why don't you just throw the blasted thing away?
You make it sound so easy.
Because it is. Here, hand it over, and I'll do it for you. Might as well shred it up while we're at it.
I held a hand out to her, though the gesture is without any expectations. She's nothing if not stubborn, and if it isn't surprising when she turns the offer down with a swat of her hand.
Rebecca, just leave it alone, okay? I get it. You don't want anything to do with it.
Good. I hope that settles it.
Yeah, just forget I mentioned anything. I'll figure it out myself.
That makes me stop again. This time I turn to look at her, searching her face for an explanation. But all she offers me is a sidelong glance and another one of those pained looks before climbing onto the passenger seat and closing the door behind her. Somehow, even with the steady din of traffic around us, the sound of that feels heavier, weighed with everything we refuse to utter tonight. This is what I want, isn't it? It certainly doesn't feel like it. Thankfully, if there's anything left to be spoken between us after, we don't have to discuss it on the way home. Or rather, we can't. Because no sooner than we hit the road, Isabella dozes off. Despite my foul mood, I still end up suppressing a laughter once the first sounds of her breathing fills the car.
Mama?
Not your mom, Isabella.
Slow and steady, the quiet rhythm so completely unlike her. So far removed from every impression anyone has of her. A few faint whimpers will occasionally come from her, but otherwise it's just us. This silence, and it's just so utterly unexpected. Still, a welcome break, of course. Peace and quiet is one thing you'll rarely get with her around. Yet it's nowhere near comforting. It merely lends the air this strange clarity. Every little sound, every little movement, more palpable. And with it comes an unease. A jolt of surprise hits me. It's almost comical if this were a different situation. In my haste, I accidentally dislodge my mobile from its seat on the dashboard when I swipe on the screen. Soon I'm scrambling blindly for it with my other hand while keeping a steady eye on the road ahead. A voice crackles from the loudspeakers before I can put it back. Although muffled heavily by the surface, I recognize the person on the other line from her chipper tone alone.
Hello? Miss Cooper?
Oh, you're still awake. Evening. I hope I didn't disturb you or anything. I know it's a bit late. Sorry about that. I just want to check on you and Isabella. That girl's still not answering her mobile. Were you able to meet up with her?
So is she the last one to talk to her alive? No, I think it's the day after. I forget the timeline.
Yes. She's with me. We're on our way home.
Hello? What was that again? I can't hear you properly.
Sorry. Let me just fix this dumb phone.
My hand stops dead for a moment. Ooh, that gave me chills. I spare the device a brief glance, waiting. Seconds pass. Nothing happens, though. Frankly, I'm not sure what I'm expecting, but the lines of my mouth form into a frown regardless.
Miss Cooper?
Yes, still here.
Did you say something?
Just that I didn't get the last part. What were you saying again?
No, I thought you... Never mind. Must be the signal acting up.
Is it her, or is it the ghost?
Come again?
What?
Is everything all right over there?
Certainly. Is something wrong? What wouldn't? Okay, you seem to be busy. If this is a good time, I can just call you back some other...
I have to make a conscious effort not to panic right then and there, although my tight hold on the steering wheel tells a different story altogether.
Miss Cooper? Rose? Hey, Rose! Are you still there?
Only a burst of static answers me, and maybe this lapse is entirely because of exhaustion. It has been a long day, and I haven't fully recovered from last week's bout of flu, contrary to what I've been telling people. Though perhaps I had paid closer attention to it, had I not been so occupied with other thoughts, I probably would have noticed earlier that it never came from my phone, but from somewhere right behind me. Oh, that gave me chills too. Oh, that's always like a fear. Like you know, you're just driving, or like you go into your house and like you turn around or you enter a room and just like a stranger's in there. Oh, that'd be like super terrifying. The time slows to a crawl. Looking up is a mistake. The first thing I see is a face, a ghastly shade, every inch battered, bruised, and bloodied. Even in the darkness and the world passing by in a blur of lights, outside I can still make out the wounds. Blood still oozes from it, little trails of crimson running down its face, glistening under what little light there is. But it is the gleam in its eyes that catches mine. The quiet plea, the anguish, and the desperation in them, more than its hideous features and the awful stench of gore now soaking the air. And try as I might, I can't bring myself to look away, even as its lips contort into a horrific smile. Even as sharp, harsh noise pierces the air and the silence around us.
Rebecca! Huh? Car! Eyes on the road!
Against everything I've been taught, and I've constantly reminded myself, I close my eyes. Oh. It's a brief moment. A short, vivid second of muscle memory and instinct completely taken over. And if I didn't allow it, if my hands didn't move, or my feet didn't hit the brakes in that exact second, I might have. Isabella and I might have. No. I shake the notion away before I lose myself in it. Right now, it's an ugly line of thought I refuse to venture into. Now, when breathing is a struggle, and every ounce of strength has been totally drained from my body. Most definitely not while Isabella's panicked voice beside me still rings in my ears. We're alive. We're safe. That's all that matters. But it's not her face that I look for when I finally open my eyes. All gone. I expected stains, little telling marks and creases on the covers to show me where it sat not a second ago. But whatever it is, it left not a single trace. And though courage is a hard thing to gather at this point, I take what little of it remains in me and turn towards the back seat. Even then, there's none. Or was there really something in there in the first place? With how empty it is, I'm beginning to doubt it. This stupid flu again.
I need a long rest after this.
My hands fall uselessly to my sides, numb from how taut my grip on the wheel has gone, yet still trembling from the unexpected rush of adrenaline. Against my ears, my heart still pounds in erratic rhythm, and my breathing hasn't slowed down. But the world has already righted itself without waiting for me, and little by little, second after second, I sit here motionless. Color begins to seep back around me. Along with it are the sounds and a voice, no longer the indistinct ringing it was earlier.
Rebecca? Becca? Are you okay? Answer me, will you? You're scaring me. You know what? I think we should just call a taxi since...
Can you keep it down?
Strained, harsh, and completely unintentional. But with heat prickling at the back of my eyes and the mild throbbing at my temple, I could honestly do with a little silence for now.
Keep it down? We almost crashed, Becca.
I know what happened. It was a lapse. I'm sorry.
A lapse? You call that a lapse? Becca, I really don't want to end up a mangled mess on the side of the road. Or a mangled mess anywhere.
Is this foreshadowing?
All I'm asking, if the time ever comes, which I hope isn't right now, is a peaceful death. Give that one to me at least. Not that I'm asking for it, but please.
Isabella. Belle. Belle, you're overreacting.
Uh-huh.
If you're so worried, why don't you drive?
Don't have a license.
I keep telling you to get one, didn't I? For the past 5 years. Do you see why now?
I wasn't really expecting to stay here this long. I thought it'd just be for a year or two.
All of a sudden, a pensive mood comes over her. Isabella looks away then, while what's left of my little lecture never crosses the tip of my tongue. I don't allow it to, because in each of those words she lets loose earlier is a small truth. Her stay has always been meant to be something fleeting. Earn some good money, go home, is what she'd tell herself during her first year here. Now? Half a decade later, I'm not sure she still believes that. Even I'm not sure if I still believe it. And if there's something in her reasons that's changed along the way, even if I already have a hunch, it's not one thing I'll ever bother to ask. Well, if you're you're a shitty friend. Those are hers to keep.
I'll be careful this time, I promise. Just please, can we give this whole thing a rest for now?
She nods, and that's the end of it. We spend the rest of the trip back to Salem Well in silence. All thoughts of an overactive imagination playing tricks on a flu-addled mind, and of smiles never meant for my eyes abandoned, if only for a brief moment. Alright, different day. It begins innocently enough. Tuesday morning arrives like any other day before it. Bright and clear. Even though it comes with an extra helping of the unusual October weather, I appreciate being able to catch a glimpse of the clear skies lately. After going through a bout of sickness last week, it does something to lift the mood of what would otherwise be a dreary morning. And despite being mostly a creature of habit, I wind up waking up earlier than usual because of it. Still not earlier than Isabella, it appears. I assume she'll take a day or two off because of what happened to Miss Cooper, but that doesn't seem to be the case. The sound of the morning news drifts from her unit when I walk past on the way to my mailbox. Chances are, around this hour, she's already dressed and ready to go, probably just waiting for the next bus to arrive. I've tried following her example before, but I don't think I'll be repeating that.
Really? How can anyone be up before the sun is up?
It's a habit she got from home, she said, instilled in her by the kind of life she grew up in. Like clockwork, it's always at 4 a.m., either to help with the chores or prepare her little siblings for school. It surprised me the first time. She just didn't look like someone who could. In the end, it simply passed it off as one of the many things anyone will have to get used to around her. Not that I'll ever fully understand. I'm my parents' only child. We aren't well off, but so far I've lived a relatively easy life. I didn't have to think about bills or food for the next day, or pay for any siblings' tuition on top of my own, or supporting a sick father's medication. All I have to worry about were my grades. If it gained Mom and Dad's approval, or what we'd be having for dinner. When put next to hers, they all pale in comparison. They look less like problems and more like petty issues this way.
Petty issues?
But as unimportant as it all sounds, sometimes its ugly head rears at the most inappropriate moments. And sometimes they come through your mailbox in the form of a fancy-looking letter, pretty ribbons and all. Whoever sent this has spent silly money on the envelope alone. Verging on ridiculous, really. I can already imagine Isabella wrinkling her nose when she sees this. Then she'll complain about unnecessary expenses and rich people problems. I'm almost afraid to touch it myself. As if simply brushing a hand against its crisp surface will be enough to put a crease on it. and it'll be a terrible slight to the sender. But as extravagant as I find this, it isn't really the first time I've received one. Most of the time, it's not even for me, so who am I to complain? Either way, no look of surprise crosses my face once I flip the envelope over to see my parents' name written in neat script.
Nothing new then.
Their years in the academy naturally brought it with various connections. People from other fields, arts, science, business, politics, you name it. This one, though, gives off a much personal vibe. Letters like this usually come from old students, people who've grown fond of my parents, and they, in turn, treat like children of their own. I've only met a few of them. Most have moved on to become successful in their chosen careers, and little letters like this are always a way of expressing gratitude. This is one thing Mum and Dad are proud of, rightfully so, and I'm happy for them. But there are times I wish they'll remember that they have a daughter here. A real one. Not that it's of any importance now. It's not like they didn't raise me well and provide for me. They did. I wouldn't be where I am if it weren't for their hard work. And like a dutiful child, I do everything I can to give back. Even if it's a small thing as letting them know they got another mail waiting for them. The phone rings for a good minute before someone answers. Mum, her voice as warm as I remember.
Becca?
Hi, Mum. How's the conference going?
Well enough. Until your dad sprained his ankle.
Oh no, is it bad?
I'm alright. In case anyone in this family cares to listen, I'm alright. Very much alive, darling.
And there you have it. He'll be up and walking in a few weeks, don't worry. We're going to have to extend our stay here until it heals, though. Is something the matter?
Nothing big. Just that this mail arrived for you this morning.
A lie. Thankfully, she doesn't notice. Although, if I'm going to be honest, a small part of me yearns for her to do so and ask me about it. But I put down that idea almost as soon as it surfaces. I shouldn't make them fret. They're busy.
What does it say?
Raise your glasses, give cheers to the good times, blah blah.
Becca manners. That isn't how I taught you to read.
Sorry. You are cordially... it's an invitation, Mum, for a housewarming party. From, Hana?
The name rings a bell, though for a moment I can't recall when or where I've heard it recently. It must be nothing too important if I didn't bother committing it to memory. There are lots of Hanas in the world, so who knows?
Hana.
She also wrote you a note, Mum. It says you used to be her private tutor at the Evans mansion, and that she misses you and would love to see you two again.
It makes my heart clench to read another openly say those words to them. The same ones I want to tell them. Becca, you gotta stop holding it in. Just let your emotions out. Not the mean ones. I want to see you too. It's been years since we've been together as a family. And if there's one thing that hasn't changed from childhood, is that Mom and Dad are still busy with their respective careers. But out of the country, away on some meeting or symposium, sometimes for months on end. It only grew more frequent with the years, until I'm old enough to live on my own. I like to think that's how I've become independent at such an early age. They've always praised me for that. At times, I wish they didn't.
Evans? Oh, I remember now. Honey, it's Hana. Hana Evans. Remember? Bright girl, 2 years older than Becca?
Didn't she get married a few years ago? 7 now, I think. But they grow up so fast, these kids.
Yeah, she invited us to that too. Fonte de Medici. But we missed that one because you had to present your paper in Singapore.
We did send her a note after. Still a shame we couldn't attend, though. What is it about this time?
She sent another invite for a housewarming party. Becca, when is it?
This Friday, Mum.
Oh, that's too bad. We'd love to be there. but Da's not in a condition to go walking around. I guess we'd have to decline again. I really miss that girl.
I could go in your place.
I let it slip without thinking. Personally, I've never been fond of gatherings, regardless of how simple people make it seem. But if there's one thing I hate hearing, that disappointed note in Mom's voice always ranks first. Whether it's directed at me or some other thing, doesn't matter.
Are you sure? Don't you have work this Friday?
The event will be in the evening, Mum. It shouldn't take anything away from my schedule. It's all right. The invite's for 2 people. I can bring someone with me so things don't get boring.
I see. Maybe you can also invite Ashton?
Mum, that's a sure no from him. He hates attending parties.
Didn't he go anywhere?
But I'll see what I can do. If not, I can always bring Isabella with me. You know her. She won't say no if there's food involved.
Okay, if it's not going to be a big problem for you, I don't see why not. We owe you this one, darling.
No problem, Mum. I'll even say hi to Hana for you.
Please do. And let her know we'd love to see her once we're back in the city. Leave her our number or something.
I will.
But you know, the 2 of you would have become really good friends. Don't you remember? You met with her once. If my memory serves me right, you were 12 then?
This too, I can't recall. It's probably one of those meetings where we only talked a bit before going on our ways. If she did leave an impression, I'm pretty sure I would have written about it somewhere, or at least recognized her name. It's as if the only few people I remember clearly from that time in my life is Ashton and Mandy. Who's Mandy? To some extent. Mum must have sensed my confusion because she laughs.
Don't push yourself too hard, darling. Really? It felt like having 2 daughters back then. Sometimes I wish they didn't send her away to boarding school. But, well, you know how often that goes with them. Still, try talking to her while you're there.
Oh, we'll see. I'll let you know what happens after.
Her mom has a creepy voice.
I'm looking forward to it, darling. Take care of yourself.
Will do. You too, Mum. Bye. Tell Da to be careful next time.
She chuckles, then. A hearty one, tender and always light on my ears. She may be a stern teacher, but this is the part of her I love the most. The sound of it still echoes even as our call comes to an abrupt end, bringing with it a memory from so many years ago, when life and responsibilities that accompany adulthood are things far from our minds. If given the chance, I'd love to go back to those. I don't dwell on it though, shaking it all away almost as soon as the memory forms a clear picture in my head. I've always wondered how Isabella can easily pretend everything's normal over the phone call, then bounce back to her usual self immediately after. I've seen her do it plenty of times. For me, it just drains whatever energy I have. And with a whole day of teaching still ahead of me, I can't afford to look exhausted in front of my students. Even for a wee bit, it's never a good example to set. So with another sigh, I put everything in the back of my mind to tread back to my room. The rest of my day awaits. 15 minutes later, I'm heading back out, dressed for the day, my car keys in hand. Ordinarily, I don't stop for anything. There's never a need to. That's the beauty of this apartment complex. It's quiet and everyone keeps to themselves. No useless platitudes in the morning, no need to wear a smile on your face lest other people are nosy enough to ask. Today, however, the morning broadcast still plays from Isabella's room. The brisk pace slows to a stop, and a frown gradually forms on my face.
She hasn't left.
Of course, this isn't unusual. There are times when I've left earlier than she did, like last Friday before their open house. But those days are few and far between. It only happens in the direst circumstances, though the last part of that might be a bit of an exaggeration. However, with what's happened in the last few days, maybe today is one. The death of a friend isn't something anyone can brush off. And for someone like Isabella's the kind who gets attached to people easily. With Zachary, Ashton, and I, that has been the case. I can't imagine what she might be going through right now, especially when the woman who was someone she owed a lot, despite their training being brief. I've given her the space last night in difference, but perhaps today might be the proper time to check on her.
Oh, whatever. I've still got time anyway.
You're so disingenuine. With light steps, I move closer to her door, hand already poised to knock. Still, I don't do so until I hear her answer me.
Isabella? Belle? Are you in there?
No answer. After a second, I finally knock, lightly so I don't disturb her, in case she's sleeping and has merely left the telly running last night. Never mind how she never lets that happen, ever. Waste of electricity and all.
I just want to check on you before I leave. Is that okay? Are you going to work today? Belle?
Still nothing.
I'm about to leave. If you want, I can drop you off.
Another round of knocking. Then I'm fishing out for a copy of her key from my bag and unlocking the door. She lent it years ago after I complained about the mess and offered my help in cleaning up. I thought the gesture was completely unnecessary back then, after all. I could always knock. But she never did bother taking them from me, always returning it or turning away from the conversation whenever I insist. At one point, I simply stopped trying to hand it back to her.
Isabella? I'm coming in, all right?
Without waiting for her answer, I push the door open and step inside. And with that, that's the end of the episode. I am well over time. But this is going to be an interesting perspective because we're going to see a lot of new stuff, I feel. Because like I said, Becca hasn't really been in the story except for the party and the lunch that they had with Zach and Isabella. So, I'm ready to see what happens. But she is mean. She's a bitch. I thought McCulloch was mean. But thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, don't forget to hit the thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit subscribe and ring the bell so you know when I post. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye!